Good day. I'd like to talk a little bit about report design. How do we stop that from getting out of hand? My experience has always been that users come to me and they'll want to have a piece of information. They'll ask for it one way. As soon as I get it ready for them, they ask for it another way, then another way. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of expensive programming time, and a lot of iteration through this. And so sometimes you need to add a little bit of discipline to that report creation process. And so what are the best steps that we need to take to manage this? So the first step for me is nomenclature. So when someone asks for a new report, try to, instead of focusing on the information in the report, think about the idea of what piece of information do they need to make a decision, and how will that decision make them be successful. This is a little bit different way of thinking about details of information rather than immediately going into, well, I need something with name, I need something with this, I need something with that on a piece of paper. The second thing is look at a top-down approach to design. So start with the highest level piece of information and say, what is the, again, the piece of information you need to use to make the decision to help you be successful. Don't start by saying, well, do you need, where do you need the name? Do you need the last name, the first name? If we think about information, it's always at a higher level of the pyramid. And if we design our reports from a top-down process, we could always add the detail information on the page in after the fact. The third piece is use an iterative design process. In other words, get sign-off at every level. So once you do the first design, before you start programming, get sign-off, get approval. Same with each phase. And what that does is, if the report, for instance, is like for a vice president, it cycles up the approval process so that the vice president and the others that are looking at this keep seeing it every time, so that they're not surprised when they see the final output. And what that means is you only have to do it once, rather than creating something brand new, and then as soon as the higher level person up sees it, they want it changed, and you have to start from scratch. The other part of iterative design is use what's called a wireframe process, and this is often used in web design. And what it does, it allows you to design something without actually committing programming resources. And I'm just going to go to another screen here quickly, and what we're going to do is look at what a wireframe design is. So it starts essentially with a blank piece of paper, and what you do is you go like this, and you say, well, okay, so here's your report. Here's what it's going to look like. What do you think of that? And most people go, well, yeah, it's square. Well, in this case, mostly square. I kind of understand that. The next thing is you go, well, and so here we're going to have a heading, right? So there's going to be the heading on the report. So what do you think of that? Is that heading in the right place? It's probably going to be about 3 lines. What do you think about that? And so what we're doing here is we keep showing them pieces of information on the report. Here's a footer. There's going to be some information in the footer. What do you think about that? So what that allows us to do is get them used to the form and format of the thing before we actually commit any programming resources. The next piece you could go, here's, there's going to be some information here. What do you think about the name up here? And here we might have, here's the 2 address blocks. What do you think about that? Then we're going to have a giving history here, and so on and so forth. And what that again allows you to do is get through this design process, get them familiar with it, and then as you get further along, you can start filling this in. Sometimes what I like to do is mock up these things in Excel with, first of all, data that's kind of just there for display purposes, and then secondly, with data that's actually real. So anyway, just a few tips on report design so that iterative cycle doesn't get too out of control and you don't spend an overt amount of time using your resources and committing to programming that has to be changed. Thanks very much for your time.